YouTube, welcome back to my garage. So I have decided to make a part 2 to this video and installing this ADD bumper, Addictive Desert Designs, this new edge bumper that they came out with on my 2025 Ranger Raptor. Now, if you haven't watched my part 1 video, I recommend you go back and watch part 1 before you watch this one, and that will give you an idea of why we are here today and why I'm doing the things that I am doing. And I wasn't going to go forward with putting this bumper in until I was certain I could address all of the issues with this bumper to my satisfaction. And once I figured everything out, I decided, okay, let's go ahead and put this bumper in. There's still some things I have to talk about that I didn't cover in part 1, but we'll get to those as we go. But the first issue was the extra hole, the extra sensor hole on the end of the bumper right here, because on a 24 and 25 they did away with that sensor right there and they don't have them anymore. So why they couldn't delete this hole that they put in the bumper at the factory when they were making this thing, I mean, going forward every truck is not going to have this sensor, so why not update your program and make these bumpers year specific? So what I ended up doing was buying an additional sensor mount that snapped into the hole, and then I bought an additional sensor that went inside, and it's going to look factory. I mean, compared to what they wanted you to do in the instructions, they wanted you to put this shitty little grommet in here, and then they wanted you to put this pipe plug inside the grommet to close that hole. That wasn't going to fly. I could have machined up a really nice plate to go inside here with a screw attachment from the back side, but this was easier, and I've got an onboard spare. These aren't going to be connected to anything, but it looks factory. It closes up the hole, and this gets to go in the garbage. All right, secondly, the biggest issue with this bumper is this hole right here, and you have to watch part 1 to realize how badly they screwed up on this to almost keep me from putting this bumper in. So I had a couple of different options, and here's what I came up with. So I took a piece of this aluminum plate, 1/8 inch, same thickness as this bumper, and I bored a couple of holes in it. So these first 2 holes right here, I made extras. So that hole is the same size as that hole. And what I needed to get to was this hole size right here. And I'll show you why. So if this hole was the same size as this one, then I could take another one of these and I could drop it in the hole and snap it in and put my sensor right into that. So what I did on this was I went around and I removed everything. There's a bunch of little ridges on here, and I ended up removing them all the way around. I took that one off. I took that one off. There's 3 of them there. And I took them all the way off, so this entire housing right here is now round. So it will fit into a round hole, and the only thing left is the little snap tabs when you go to snap it into place. And we're gonna address those once we get this hole opened up. So how do we open that hole up? Well, a couple different options. So here's what I came up with. So I bought a couple of these. Let me get this going here so I can use both hands. Okay, I bought a couple of these cutters, and a lot of people wouldn't even know what these were. These are made for, let's say you have a 3/4 inch PVC fitting, you're working on your sprinkler system, somehow on the ground you snap your pipe off at the fitting, and there's just no room to get in there and replace the fitting, and you need to save it, and you need to salvage the fitting so you can glue another pipe into it. This was designed to go down inside your Schedule 40 or Schedule 80 pipe, and it fits inside the pipe, and then there's a single carbide insert right here that turns, and what it does is it cuts away all of the old PVC out of your fitting so you can glue a new piece of pipe into that fitting and save the day, and you're a hero, and down the road you go. So what I did with in the specs on this thing, it told me what diameter of hole it was going to cut, and I measured it for PVC pipe, and it was almost spot on. So I actually used this tool And you can see, not this one, but this had to be modified. So it had to be modified to add this little ring onto it. And this is a press-on ring. It's made out of PET. There's a little notch right there that clears the carbide insert. And what this little ring does is it gives me a guide that fits perfectly down inside there. And now when I spin that, it should cut from this diameter out to the end of that carbide insert, and it should give me the hole location. So I used this tool to do this hole right here. And it just, I thought it was gonna be a little bit undersized, but it turns out it's perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up and we're gonna put this in the drill, and we're gonna do this first one right here, and we're gonna see if we can open this hole up to get this housing right here to fit down inside there. So let me set up and I will be right back with that. Ready to try to enlarge this hole. So I got the tool and the drill. I got the anti-wrist braking bar on because you know how torquey some of these new tools can get. So I'm gonna set this camera down right here, and we are gonna pick this out of here. Let me get a rag. And some kind of lubricant on this is going to help. Make sure we're good to go here. Yep, we're good to go. Some kind of lubricant. This isn't really cutting oil, but I'm going to put a little bit of this on here. I'm going to put a little bit all around the hole. It's going to get messy. Who cares? And this is a slow process. This is not a high-speed operation. But anyway, let's see if this works. Yeah, we're through. All right. There goes my warranty. If that POS ADD company even offers a warranty on this. So let's see. Oh, that is a nice fit. That is going to snap right in. So now this will allow me to use a factory style housing instead of doing the uber hokey bullshit way that ADD wants you to do it by destroying your lower valance on your $900 valance on your bump factory bumper. So go back and see part 1 about that whole thing. So anyway, this is going to go in, but now it's able to rotate, which is not a big deal. We've got these little keepers right here, these little snap out keepers, and you also have to get in there and trim these out a little bit too. Just take a little Dremel or file or something. You have to open these up because the factory bumper is not as thick as this, even though this is only 1/8 inch. Well, you have to modify these a little bit so these will actually expand and snap into the hole. But we don't want them to rotate. So let me get set up with that, and we're going to show you how to, we're going to keep this thing from rotating. All right, now that I got the holes opened up, I need to create some way to keep this bushing from rotating once it goes in there. So you've got this little tab on the upper side, and you got a little tab on the lower side. They're going to snap into place once it goes in the opening. So these are left and right specific, and these sensors, the opening for the connector is made to go to the inside, to the middle of the truck. So make sure you got the left and the right correct, because they only go into the bushings one way. So you got to make sure you got the right bushing. So what I did is I put it in there, pushed it down, lined it up where I wanted it, and took a pencil and marked a little notch there and marked a little line there. And you actually only really need one notch to keep it from rotating. I think that's all that's going to be necessary. So what I did is once I marked that, I just took a square file and I came into this hole at an angle, and I just started filing back and forth on the back side of this thing and creating like a little ramp for this little notch to drop into once it snaps into place. And I didn't put one over here because the file would have hit the back side of the bumper. There wouldn't have been a lot of room back here to file this out. But I think one's going to be fine. So I'm going to flip this thing over and we'll see what it looks like on the inside. And we'll see if we can get this thing to snap in. So now that I got this one all filed out here, I can shine a light on here and you can kind of see, you can kind of see that notch, that little ramp down to the bottom there. That's going to catch that little part of that retainer and keep it from turning around. So now I should be able to take this. I'll take the sensor out, slide that in from the bottom, and that snaps in solid. That's not going anywhere, and it rotates a little bit. I probably filed it a little bit wider than I should have, but it's not going to go like 90 degrees or anything. It's going to move a little bit, not a big deal. So let me flip this bumper back over. We'll see what it looks like from the front. So there is the finished product. And that just looks so much nicer. And I already got this one I took out of the truck already just to make sure it was going to fit in here. And of course there's the dummy mock-up one right there. That one's going to work. This one will work. This sensor will just pop in from the back. It's already black. The ones you get from, these are like 11 bucks on Amazon. They already come black. So if you take the one, if you follow the instructions from ADD, they want you to reuse this one right here, which is silver. So you're going to either have to paint the bezel and paint the sensor, and you have to make it look not so like you didn't stick a nickel in there or something, but and have it all be so silver and shiny. So that will pop in from the back. I'm not going to pop it back in right now because I've got to take this back out and I've got to paint the inside. I got to clean all the oil and everything off of this, and we're going to paint where we cut that hole open and let that sit overnight, and then we'll pop these in for the last time, and then we'll get going on putting some lights in here and getting that ready to go. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, well, the paint is drying on the bumper where I touched up around those inside those holes. I'm going to get going on taking the some of the stuff off the front of this truck. Now, when I did the Process Wet Stage 2 intercooler, I've already had the whole front end off this truck already, so I know what to expect here and how all this comes apart. And now we've got to get the grill out and the top cover right here. We got to take that out, the grill, and then this little piece that runs along right here, which is actually easy to pop out. And the reason being is behind this plate right here, you've got your radar for your adaptive cruise control. That has to get relocated up here in the upper section of the grill shutter. So because of course that bumper, is going to go away, and you need some place to put that. So we're going to get going on taking this piece off and the lower trim piece here and the grill. I'm not really going to get into this part of the video. There's a ton of videos on how to get the grill off of a Ranger Raptor, and I want to keep this video a little bit shorter. So you start by just taking these little plugs, these little these plastic keepers off right here. It comes right off. You disconnect your camera, your windshield washer squirter for the camera, and then there's a wire harness up here you got to disconnect. But once I get all this stuff off, we'll look at it again and I'll show you what I did. I'm just trying to save some time here, so I'll be back shortly. Once you get this top cap off, there's a little connector here for your washer for your camera lens. That just you just squeeze that little thing on the fat side and it just comes right out, and then you can unhook this from the little hole in the support right here, and then you disconnect your camera wire right here, and that just goes down to your forward camera. And then to keep your if you have these little pinch clamps, these are nice. You just put them on the line and give them a little squeeze, and that'll keep your all your windshield washer fluid from siphoning, because this is lower than your tank, so it's going to start siphoning out. So once you get this off, and then you get this piece of trim off the bottom right here, it just pops out. There's one screw here, one screw here, one screw here. There's a screw here on the back side, and then there's a screw right here on the back side. Once you got all that off of there, you just literally just give this thing a little pull, and it comes right off. And that is it. And that's all there is to getting your grill off. And that's what it looks like from the back. So now you've got all this exposed, and you can work on getting that radar for your adaptive cruise control mounted up there. So now we got to get it out of the bottom. So this one takes a little bit of time, but you got to get this lower valance off right here in order to get to the radar unit to get it pulled out. And there's going to be a trick before taking this out of the truck. So we'll get in that. Get to that once I get this lower valance piece off of here. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, the only hardware on that front valance is 5 little screws on the very bottom on the underside, and then 5 of these little plastic clips that go up underneath the opening along the underside of this right here. There's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the rest of it is just pull and pray. Pull to get it off, pray you don't break anything. And there's a whole bunch of clips behind here that hold this valance into the bumper, and most of them are probably going to pull out of the valance and they're going to stick to the bumper, so you have to go back afterwards and you have to fish them all out, rebend them because the little spike's bent, and then you have to put them back under the back of the valance. So let's see if we can get this to come off. There. There. Wow, that was easy. It came off a lot easier the second time. And then there's a plug right here, which you have to disconnect for your lower sensors. So now you can kind of see from my part 1 video, this little plastic piece that's welded into the back of this valance is what they want you to destroy and reposition these into your new bumper, which is absolute crap. But you can see that a lot of these clips stayed behind, so we're going to fish those out. There's 4 on that side, 4 on this side, and then we're going to put those back into the valance, set aside, and now it's just a matter of fishing this this cable out right here. It comes down behind this little plastic diffuser here, drops in the bottom, 6 bolts, and your bumper falls off. That's all there is to it. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, so here is a trick as you're if you're deciding to do one of these bumpers. So the right here is your radar unit for your adaptive cruise control. There's this big plastic cover over the front of it, which goes up in there, and there's a couple snap clips at the top and a couple little plastic keepers at the bottom. And getting this out is a pain in the butt. It doesn't just pop off. It's not made to come out from the front or by itself. So here's what's critical about this. This unit right here is adjustable. There's an adjustment screw right here, and as you turn this screw back and forth, this thing pivots forward or backwards, and alignment on this unit is critical to working properly and keeping distance when you're using your adaptive cruise control. So while the truck is sitting here, before you take it apart, you're actually going to have to take part of it apart, but the only way you can get this cover off without taking the unit out is to take this bolt out, take this bolt out, and now that your grill is gone, down inside here there's another bolt right here for the top of the bracket. Loosen this one about halfway, don't take it out all the way. Take these out completely, and this whole bracket will push back, and then you can kind of just get and wiggle this thing out from the front of the unit. Now that it's out, go ahead and reinstall these bolts and tighten them up. Tighten them about where they go. Tighten this one, and then tighten the one down inside here that you took out halfway. And now you have the front of this exposed, and you still have your factory setting of where that is located. And then, not everybody's going to have one of these, but they're super cheap. It's a little digital scale, little protractor, angle finder. So go in someplace like your kitchen counter and zero this thing. Zero this thing on something that you know is completely flat. Your kitchen counter would be probably be a pretty good reference. So my garage floor is not level. All garage floors are sloped to the outside, so you can't really use that as a reference. The truck's sitting in here, on a sloped floor, so you don't really know what that means. But so if this truck was sitting level, my reading was different. But since I'm taking the bumper off here and reinstalling the bracket here, I'm going to use where the truck sits as a reference. So go in the house someplace you know is flat, zero that, And then when you're done there, bring it out, and you can see I'm like 0.2 degrees tilted back. If I go back, you can tell by the arrow. The more I go back, the higher the angle. So the little arrow tells me that it's 0.2, 0.3 degrees backwards from where I am at level. So it's basically tilted back just a little tiny bit. And the reason being, in the instructions, which I'm going to get to in a minute, that's instructions for this are funny. This bracket that relocates your radar sensor is adjustable, so you can get all kinds of swing on this thing, but you don't know where to put it. So having a reference with something like this of where it is before you take it out is going to be a lot helpful when you put it back in, and to make sure it's accurate and it works properly when you're all done. Anyway, little tricks and tips that you learn along the way. And so now we're gonna take this cable off right here, unplug it. You undo all the little keepers here. There's a keeper right back here on the bottom. And you take this whole cable right here and you shove it down inside this hole and let it dangle out the bottom. And then all you have left is 1, 2, and 3 on each side, and this whole bumper will just come off. So nothing else holding it on. So we're going to come back in a little bit, and I'm going to show you something that I found in the instructions that I just can't believe. So see you soon. We are back. It is another day. Now I went ahead and popped this bumper off, the 6 bolts, and once you get the 6 bolts out, you actually have to tug on this bumper to get it to come loose. It kind of hangs into all these little slots up here, and I don't know why. Just maybe it's this one, maybe it's all of them, but you think you forgot to take something apart. It's just, you just got to give it a little pull, and it'll snap loose. And this bumper doesn't weigh that much. I mean, it's not too bad. So in the instructions, they want you to take all these backing pieces off. This one, the one on the other side over there, that whole thing. Then they say you have to take those plates off to remove the wiring harness out of this bumper. That's just not the case. I mean, there's massive amounts of room up under here all the way through. I mean, I can stick my hand most of these spots, and all the clips either go to the inside or the front side or the back side. So you pop all the clips out and the wiring harness just pulls right out of the bumper. I don't know why they want you to take the time to unbolt all of that stuff unnecessarily, and just when you could just pull the harness out of the end and, you know, be done with it. So this is what the harness looks like, and it's probably about 2 feet too long. So this thing's going to need a lot of cleaning up. I'm probably going to take the ends where the factory fog lights were, and I'm probably going to pull this wire out. I may even shorten this up. This tube here is just massively too big for the amount of wires that's in it. So there's not a lot of room up here for wire management. So this thing's going to have to shrink up a little bit to make it fit right. Plus the 4 rigid light that are going in here, they have their own wiring harness also. So it's going to get pretty busy up in here, and but we'll get that cleaned up and we'll get it secured up in there. And then everything turned out nice. Of course, that one you saw, this is the one that came out of the bumper, and this is the one that I added. This is the hole that I opened up, and that just looks so much nicer on both of those. And then that's the other one, and then this one on the back side. So that's the one from the factory. That's the one that I installed. Nice solid installation. And then here's the other 2 right here. So this one moves a little bit, but it's not going to go anywhere. So that is going to look so much better than what they wanted you to do by chiseling that plastic piece off the back of your Valance and gluing it to the back side of this, which would last like, I don't know, maybe a day. So another thing I don't understand, I didn't print all the instructions out because there was like 30 some pages, and then another tree would have had to come out of the forest. But in the instructions, they want you to take this down all the way. They want you to take the grill shutter out completely. I don't know why that is. They want you to take all of this up here apart, down the sides. They want you to take this center piece out. Also, you can see in the picture here, it's gone. They want you to remove that. They tell you to pop this fender well out. There's bolts behind here. There's clips you got to get to. This piece comes out. I don't understand that. I don't understand why they want you to do an extra half days of work. Out of those 30 some pages, probably half those pages you don't have to do. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the only thing I could think that they want you to do is, where's my bracket? This is the bracket for the adaptive cruise control relocation. And they want you to put that right here. And there's already a hole down here in the bottom. And they give you a giant 3/8 bolt. And they want you to put a nut on the back side of that. But there's no way to get in here to get the nut on there. So the sides of this, the sides aren't open. The bottom's not open. This side over here is not open. But the back side, if I didn't have this giant Process West Stage 2 intercooler here, I could easily reach behind here and hold that nut and put a wrench on it and hold it while I'm tightening this bracket up. This is the only thing that would hold this bracket on, and maybe that's why they want you to take the grill shutter out. But these grill shutter vanes, you can see mine are gone. I took them all out. And just FYI, the trucks down in Australia, the Ranger Raptors, they don't even come with grill shutters. So I don't even know what these things are, their intended purpose is, but they don't have the grill shutters down in Australia. So if this wasn't here, you could pop a couple of these vanes out just by flexing them, and they pull right out of the little holders on the side. And then you could reach back in there with your hands, get that nut started, get a stubby wrench in there, tighten it up. But I'm not taking the grill shutter out, and I can't reach behind here because this Stage 2 intercooler is huge. So I'm doing something different. I added 2 holes right here. And if you look close, they are not centered. They're not symmetrical for a reason. On the side over here, there's a big cavity that goes in, and this one goes in about 1 inch, and the one in this side goes in about 1/2 inch. So I drilled these holes in so I can use that as a template, centered up, and then I'm going to drill through this plastic, and I'm going to put 2 1/4-inch bolts through here, and I can reach back here and put a flange lock nut on this side and a flange lock nut on this side. So that's going to draw that bracket up, super tight right up there, and I'm not even going to worry about putting a bolt down at the bottom. So that's the other thing I don't understand is, maybe they want you to disassemble the entire front end of this truck so you can get one nut on the back side of that hole. I mean, if you had to, you could come in here with a hole saw, and you cut a hole saw, you could reach in with your finger and then a box end wrench and hold the nut while you tighten it up. I would do that before I spent 1/2 day taking all the stuff apart and risk breaking stuff and damaging and scratching, and that's just it's a lot of extra work. And then this bracket, I can show it to you now. So this is I already got the bracket mounted on this is the little radar unit that goes for the adaptive cruise control, and this fits right in here like this. And then you've got a bolt that will go up here. You got a bolt that goes in here. And it's funny because if you look at the instructions, they show the head of that bolt right there being on the outside. Well, it's a carriage bolt. And if you know anything about a carriage bolt, the little square at the base of the head has to go through the square that's, on the inside right there. So they've got this drawn wrong. They've got it drawn like this. And if you put this in like this, how are you going to get back in here when this is inside? How are you going to get back in here to adjust this thing? Because this is the angle we talked about. This is why we took that measurement before we disassembled it, because you need to put this right back where it was. And if you didn't take that measurement, you don't know where that is. So this bolt goes on the inside so it doesn't turn, so the square drops in. And now you can get your nut on this side and make the adjustment. And they do give you a stainless 9-lock nut, which is kind of nice. And these are black oxide stainless too. But I would have done a mirror image and done the same thing on this side, just for a little bit more strength and less chance of that thing moving. But so that's going to go in. And it's funny that somebody had to draw that, somebody had to put it together and take a picture of it. Somebody had to sign off on these instructions, and everybody missed it, like, oh, hey, look, let's put the bolt in backwards. Anyway, so we got that part figured out. And now the last thing before I get going on putting this wire harness in, 2 things actually. In my part 1 video, this is the bracket that goes on the back side of the bumper. This is the driver's side actually. It goes in just like this. And this is what these 3 bolts here go into to hold your bumper on. And because I did the stage 2 intercooler, I had to shorten 2 of these bolts or else they would have crashed into the intercooler air tank on the side and it would have been a disaster. So ADD in their wisdom, as going back to part 1 of my video, they want you to put this nut plate, they want you to shove this up inside here, then they want you to put a giant ass fender washer on this and then put this through and bolt your bumper on. So instead of doing that, you've already got a plate here with welded nuts on it, and you got a third one here that you don't really need. You could cut this off right here at the skinny part, and then this could go in from the, you could probably put it in without even cutting it. You could put this in, and now you've got, 2 welded nuts that line up with these slots right here, and you could do that to put your factory bolts back on. And then, I mean, if you wanted to, you could leave this hanging out, but I don't think it would interfere with anything. Maybe the back side of the rigid light, but you could cut that off right there, or even right there at the bend. And now you've got a nice nut plate that's already done, made up for you. And you can use the factory bolts. So I'm going to take a survey right now. Which 2 bolts would you rather have holding your bumper on? I mean, this is insane. This is horrible. So these are 3/16 by 1 inch. These are metric, but it's a real bolt. And I can't believe they would make you want to take this bumper and bolt it on with 4 little shitty 3/8 bolts. So that's not going to fly. And then the last thing is, where is it? There's a lot of wires that are going to go up through this bumper. I mean, you got this whole harness here, and then I've got the harness for the rigid lights, and I didn't bring that out, but it's a 4-to-1. It's going to be pretty nice. And they gave you no form of wire management inside this bumper. They could have welded some little tabs up in here, something you could put the wire through and put a zip tie through. And more than likely, all the wires are going to have to run along the upper side, because down here, there's a good chance you're going to see all the wires through the opening once you bolt this thing on. So plus all your sensors are up on top anyway. So the wires probably need to stay near the top. And since there's no wire management, you can't really drill holes in it and put anything in it because it's going to be exposed. So here's what I came up with. These are rare earth magnets, and these have 150-pound pull force, not sliding, but pulling straight off. And then I got some aluminum cushion P-clamps, and I got a whole bunch of different sizes. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put these magnets, and you can slide that into place and bury that down in there. They're kind of chrome plated, so I don't think they're going to rust, but I can pull on that with everything I have, and I can't get that to come free. So I've got 10 of these magnets. I got a whole box of them on Amazon. And then I bought a whole bunch of different size P-clamps, different diameters, because I got some different size wiring harnesses going in. So anyway, I got a bunch of those, and I think I'm going to be able to clean this up really nice, get all the lights bolted in, and of course this side here has to go back up to behind the grill. This is your main connector right here, and then your last wheel sensors right there. So kind of gives you a reference to how long it needs to be. But anyway, I'm going to get going on disassembling this entire harness here and try to get that one installed. Then I'm going to bolt the lights in, and then I'm going to see about getting the light harnesses going. And I'll probably stop and just do a little video in between. So I'll come back when this is further along. I would pause for a quick share. So this is everything I peeled off of the factory wire harness, including the wires for the fog lights from the factory bumper that I don't need anymore. That takes a lot of bulk out of there. And the connectors and everything are gone. And then I sealed up the ends and the wires that were left. So I got the harness completely redone. And I think it turned out pretty good. So I've got, all that's left is parking sensors. So I got it running across there. I've got one of those magnets up under here. I think the magnet's going to work great. I mean, they're holding everything in place. and the cushion P-clamps as well. And then this is the wire that goes up to the adaptive cruise control sensor. And I don't know why that wire is so long, but it is. So everything is readjusted. It's all tucked up nice. Goes up to this side, goes up to this side. And then this is the piece that goes up to the connector above the radiator. So that's ready to go in. And then I went ahead and just put one of the lights in so I could kind of see how it was going to go. And if you ever have to make an adjustment on the angle of these, you're going to have a really hard time getting in here. You may have to crawl underneath and do it from the back, because I don't think you can access this from the front very easily. I mean, you might. So, you know, if you're going to do one of these, try to get these adjusted as quick as possible. And then I put Deutsch connectors on the ends of the wires, and I could have gone with a 3-pin connector, but it would have made it more difficult to wire it up actually. So I've got one for the hot on this side, and then I've got one for the ground, and this is for the RGB lighting in the back. And then what I found was I've got to get both of these harnesses up in there, and this is 2 harnesses. This is one end, and they give you 4 outlets, which is perfect for 4 wires. And I couldn't find one of these in a 4-pin. That would have been ideal. That doesn't go in there. So I had to do 2 and 2, because the 2 in the middle are going to be spots, and the 2 on the outside are floods. So they get switched independently. So I had to do a 1 harness for either this side or that side for the switch on the power. And then the other one is common for ground and the RGB. So I got to get these tucked up in there, but I'm going to go stop and put the other 3 lights in there first, and then get these wired in, and then we'll be ready to install this bumper. So I'll be back shortly. We are back, and all of these lights are installed and wired. Now, originally gives you 1 bolt to go into the center. It's like a carriage bolt with a nut on the bottom. I opted to go with 2 bolts because I don't want any chance that these are going to twist, because these bolts are going to be hard to get to once this bumper is installed. And these 4-to-1 wiring harness here that I found, they're only like 15 bucks a piece, and I couldn't even build a harness. If you've ever bought Deutsch connectors, you know, they get pretty spendy pretty fast. So this thing was kind of a godsend. It was kind of bulky, but it's all tucked up nice inside. I got P-clamps on everything, magnets. The magnets are awesome. The magnets are holding all this stuff up in here, and it's not going to go anywhere. So the goal is to not be able to see any of it from the front. And if you go around the front side, you're not going to be able to tell much. I was sitting here on the bench, but you can look up in there and you see no wires anywhere. So this one doesn't count. But so it's going to be a nice clean install. And then I went ahead and got the pigtail harness made up. And this is GXL wire. This is the same kind of high temp automotive wire that your entire factory wire harness is made out of. I would recommend staying away from that vinyl or PVC coated junk that you can buy on, you know, O'Reilly or AutoZone or Amazon. But get some good GXL wire. It's got a real nice slippery coating on it, super flexible, all copper, of course. But this is what comes in the factory in your vehicle. So good stuff. And once we get this routed up inside, this is way long. I'll have to trim it off. Once we get it up to where the relays are, looking into my Deutsch connector kit, we're going to put these single conductor high current leads on both the supply side and the those are really nice, and makes it easy to change stuff later. Anyway, I'm going to go get this ready to install. It's time. So I'm going to be using this contraption right here, which I'll explain later, but let me get it set up and we'll see about putting the bumper in place. About ready to roll this thing up into place and bolt it in. So this fixture, this thing sitting on my transmission jack here, I've got a Hummer H1 in the other garage, and I built this fixture a long time ago to help me remove and rebuild and reinstall my portal hubs that go out behind each wheel. And I'm not going to get into how well that thing works, but it's adjustable for the angle all the way up to 90 degrees. And I thought, you know, this thing would work perfect for holding this bumper level. I don't have a lot of people around here that can help me hold this thing up while somebody crawls in there and puts the bolts in. So now I can just roll this thing back and adjust the height on it right where it needs to go and crawl in there and put the bolts on. And earlier we talked about this thing about, you know, what should I do with this thing? Should I cut off this arm right here and, you know, just use the welded nut plate and use the factory bolts? I mean, this thing goes in. It doesn't interfere with the light. Let me get an angle here. It goes in, it doesn't interfere with anything. And I think it's just gonna sit right there. And when it goes in the truck, it's basically gonna be, it's basically gonna be right here anyway. It's gonna be pretty much, you know, close to the frame anyway. So I can put a shorter bolt in the other side to draw that thing in, but I just say I don't think the holes will line up. But anyway, that's going to go in like that, and then these are 90 bucks a piece if you have to go and repurchase them. So I can put this in whole and not destroy another $180 worth of parts to get the factory bolts back in. So anyway, let me crawl under there, get this thing lined up, and we'll see how it looks when we get it into position. There it is. So that actually went up in there pretty easy, and thankfully to that little one-man dolly to hold that bumper up in place, so I didn't have to go get a bunch of friends. But anyway, so the bumper is up. I only had to do that. In the instruction they say if the bumper, if this part right here is too low, they want you to stick a fender washer between the bumper and the frame. And I only had to make like a 30 thou shim. I just cut some of these out of some shim stock, slid it over the top bolt, retightened it, and I think it looks pretty level all the way across. And then let's crawl underneath here a little bit so you can see some of this stuff. The brackets that I used for bolting them in worked out really well. Turn my headlight on here. So there you can see the, or can you see it? There you can see the factory bolts are right there. I did put some big washers under them, and that worked out fantastic. And the little part of the bumper that I didn't cut, or bumper mount that I didn't cut off, is right here. It just hangs there. I can flex it back and forth, but it doesn't interfere with anything. It's not in the way. It doesn't stick out. And I'm glad I didn't cut those off, because they actually made a really good handle for holding on to them while you bolt the bumper up. So one thing I do like about the bumpers, they give you a lot of slot up and down adjustments, so you can put this thing exactly where you want it. And I tested all the wires again. I got everything run back up in there. I got the angle readjusted on the little radar sensor there. And now I'm just going to work on this skid plate here. And after looking at this thing, I think I'm going to go take a saw, and this is just cheap aluminum. So I'm going to get a saw. I'm going to cut these open, all three of them, and I'm going to make them slots instead of holes, because I'm going to show you why right now. So they want you to put this bracket under here. They give you this spacer. It goes under here, So they give you this piece here, and I was wondering why they give you a giant stack of fender washers. So you have to shim. You have to cut a little bit out of the sheet metal over here on this side to access. There's a threaded hole right there that's not used for anything on this truck. So they want you to trim that sheet metal away. And I ended up putting 2 washers on the top side, 1 in the middle. Over here, there's 4 washers on the top side, and that's going to keep everything nice and level. And if you're trying to hold this skid plate under here while you're trying to stack all these washers up, it's going to be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to slot those holes, and then I just have to loosen these and slide those forks, which are those slots will be forks now. Just slide them up in there and then attach the front. And then this one right here, this is the factory one. This one gets reused. So I'll just be able to slide all 3 of them in there and then get the front bolt started, and then I can come back and tighten these up last. So I think that's going to work good. And up on top, the wire harness is back in. The new one runs right here along the inside, and there's actually a nice hole back here where this thing comes through. And all the wires we're going to be connecting to are right there. So shorten those up, clean that up, put some 1-pin connectors on them, tuck everything back down inside here. That's going to work out great. And I've got the sheet that tells you which switch on your aux switches does which one does what. So that'll all get buttoned up, and we're about at the end of this video. So I'm going to come back when I get some more of this put together here. And final trim pieces, I'm probably going to end up cutting these off. These held on the factory skid plate, and now they're just big appendages that hang down. So I will pop these out, 2 bolts, and this will fall right out. And then I can clean that up, put some paint on it, and then bolt that backside up, bolt that back up, and then do the other side, because this does hold your intercooler up. So one side at a time will be fine. And then they want you to trim your fender well here. I'm not going to get crazy with it. I think I'm going to raise this fitting here above this bracket. Just raise it up a little bit, and then just trim right along the bottom of that bracket right there. And that way I'm keeping everything that's going to hold that fender lining in place. But that's about the end of this job. We'll get it outside in the driveway when we're all finished up here. And I love working in this garage. It's the middle of August in Phoenix, and right now it's about 109 outside, and it's about, I don't know, 61, 62 degrees in my garage. That's almost a 50-degree difference. I couldn't imagine doing this outside the driveway with the garage door open right now. So thankful for that. But anyway, I'm going to get a few more things buttoned up here, and then we should be coming back for the last part of the video. Is reassembled. So this is all put back together. The grill's back in, the trim's back in, the top piece is back in. All those connectors tucked down inside here, really nice. And these are the single pin Deutsch connectors. They look like that. A little expensive, but worth every penny. And then everything down here looks good. Now tomorrow I'm going to pull it out, and I may pull those lower legs off of there and trim those off. So that might be an early in the morning outside thing. But bumper looks great. Lights work. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. So there's only one more thing on this bumper that needs to happen. And we're going to go over here. You know, I had so many issues with this bumper, and it still kind of pisses me off that I had to spend all this time and all this money and do all this extra work because somebody at ADD dropped the ball, and just turned out a nice bumper with some shit details. So I went to, these guys have been around forever. This is Blue Oval Industries. They're a Ford licensed product, and I found this 3.5-inch black Ford emblem. Looks just like that. And down here on the bottom of this bumper, there is a laser cut ADD logo that was put into the front. Well, I had so much grief with getting this done that I don't think ADD should be allowed to advertise on my truck. So that is going to go right there. So I'm going to clean that area up a little bit, peel and stick, and that Ford logo is going to cover up that crap right there. So anyway, no free advertising for them, not till they get it right. Someday maybe. I actually sent them my part 1 video. I didn't get any feedback, but maybe they've gone back to the drawing board a little bit and started changing some things. We'll see what they offer down the road. Anyway, in the morning we'll see this in the sunlight, and we'll call this thing finished. Hey, we are at the end of this video. So this is what the finished product looks like, with the exception of cutting those lower hangers off, which I'll do this week. Now, the fit on this bumper is pretty good. It follows the body lines really nice, and I don't have any complaints there. And you know, the only reason I installed this bumper is because I was stuck with it, and I wasn't going to take a $1,000 hit trying to return this to ADD with their return policy. So I figured I might as well put it in. And the nice thing about it was I didn't have to destroy anything on my factory bumper to make this one work. So I'll be able to sell that bumper and try to recover some of my money that I spent on this. And I did get my much needed blue oval down there on the bottom. I think that was much required for this project. With all the problems I had with this, I don't know if I could recommend this bumper to anybody. I mean, if you wanted to look like this project will take you days, not hours. I mean, it was a lot of work to get to this point. And so that's about it, though. That's about all I have to say. And you know, these Rigid 360 lights, they are an awesome platform from Rigid. They are crazy bright. I have the same ones on my my H1 over here, put in a long time ago. This is the old Radiant series, and you had to buy the specific backlight color that that you wanted. So these are amber backlights, where these with the RGB WB have like 6-7 different colors to choose from. But legally, you can only have amber or white showing from the front. So I know you can select blue or green or purple or red, but I don't need to be getting pulled over for having stupid colors displayed on the front of my truck. So anyway, that's about it. I've got a couple more projects lined up for this in the fall. So I know a lot of my subscribers look for the H1 videos, but this one's done. You know, I've had this truck for almost 4 months now and still only has 28 miles on it. So maybe I should actually get out there and start driving it. But it did just come back from having a ceramic coating put on it, and there's some good guys around here for that. So that makes a huge difference on the finish of this truck. But anyway, I know this is a long video. I want to thank you guys for being patient and sticking with me. Hope you learned something from this, and we'll see you guys down the road in the next video.